In this tutorial, we're going to learn how to use a calculator to find output values for equations. So let's start off with this equation. Y equals negative 1/2 x plus 3. So let's first start off by putting that into our y equals negative 1/2 x plus 3. So now that we've done that, let's first use what I call the trace method. Now there's a button for that feature in the top row of the calculator, second from the right. Now if you weren't already in your graph, the trace feature will automatically take you there, and it sets your cursor on the line for one of the equations. Now if you look in the top left-hand corner, the calculator indicates that the cursor is currently on the line for our y1 equation. Now while we're using trace, we can move along this line by using the left and right arrows on the calculator. So pushing left takes us into the negative x direction, and then pushing right takes us in the positive x direction. And pretty much what we could do with this is we could move along the line to see our various input and output values. Now if we're looking for the output value for a specific input, we could just type that input value in while we're using this trace feature. So say we want to know the output value when our x is negative 2. We just type in negative 2 and then hit enter. It'll take us straight to that point on the line. So as we could see, when x is negative 2, we'll have an output value of y equals 4. And you could just keep doing that while you're using trace. So say we want to check the output value when x is 3. We could just type in 3 and hit enter. So now we know that y will be 1.5 at that particular point. Now let's throw in another equation into the mix. So let's add y equals x squared minus 7 to our graph as well. So we'll go back to y equals, and then in y2, we'll put in x squared minus 7, and then hit graph. So now we have two different equations on our coordinate plane. Now right now we're not in the trace feature anymore because we exited the graph. So if we want to trace again, we just need to hit the trace button. And now it automatically puts us onto one of the equations, or onto the line for one of the equations. Now right now, again, if you look in the top left corner, we could see that we're currently on our y1. Now if we want to switch to a different equation, we just need to use the up and down arrows. So we could hit up to go to our y2. So now in the upper left hand corner, we could see that we're on our y2 equation. So whenever we hit left and right, we're actually moving along the parabola. So if we want to find the output at a specific point in the parabola, we just punch in the input value. So say for example 1, and then hit enter. Well, for this equation, when x is 1, y is going to be negative 6. And we could keep doing the same thing. So negative 2. Well, we know at negative 2, our y value will be negative 3. But let's say we want to find values for our y1 again. Well, all we have to do is hit up or down until we get to our y1 equation. So if we hit up, we can see in the upper left-hand corner we are now on our y1. So now we can start finding values for that again. So now that we know how to find output values with this particular method, let's take a look at another one. This time let's use our home screen. So with the home screen, we're still going to use our y1 and y2 equations, but we're not going to directly use them with the graph. So instead of using the trace feature, we could actually pull up our equation, so y1 or y2, and then specify an input value, and then get its corresponding output. So for example, let's say we want to use our first equation, y1. We first need to bring that onto the home screen. So the way we could do that is go to vars, right here, and then you can see that there's two tabs at the top here. Well, we want to go to yvars. So we'll scroll over, and then the very first option is function. So now we could see a list of labels for equations that correspond to our y equals equations. Now as of right now, we only have a y1 and y2. And right now we want to look at our y1, so we'll hit enter on y1. Now let's say we want to know the output value for that particular equation when x is 7. Well, what we do from here is we start a parentheses and then put in 7 and then close the parentheses. So now it'll evaluate our y1 with x being 7, or its input value being 7. So now when we hit enter, we get its output value, which is negative 0.5. Now if we want to do that again, for a different value, we just need to go back to our yvars, and then go to our y1, and then put in a different input value. So say for example 2. Well, the output at that input value is also 2. Now what if we want to look at an output value for our second equation? Well, all we have to do is go to our variables again, and then go over to the y variables function, and now choose our y2. And now let's put in an input value for that. Let's say we want to know the value for its output when x is negative 1. Well, we just put that in parentheses and then hit enter. Now we can see that our y would equal negative 6 at that point. And if you remember from using the trace feature, that's exactly what we got when using that method. Now there's another common method we could use on our calculator, and that's using the table feature. Now if you want to learn how to use a table to find output values for an equation, please refer to our calculator tutorial on using a table.